Hello, everybody. We're in the Sustainability Week 2026 in Barbados. Very happy to be here. Today, we're going to talk a little about housing portfolios in the banking industry. We're going to announce two beautiful and exciting initiatives. I think housing and mortgages are the largest asset in banking industry, and it becomes very important and relevant in these times that we are living. It becomes relevant for banks when managing competitiveness, profitability, and also building a resilient business model. So in Brazil, for example, we have done a lot of efforts to develop studies. And we have here Felipe Faria, the GBC, or Green Building Council CEO in Brazil. And in Jamaica, there is an excited movement just starting, and we have Heather Pinnock, who is the co-founder of the Jamaica GBC. And we're going to talk about competitiveness and resilient housing portfolios in banking industry. So as I said, in Brazil, we did a very interesting study working together with the Brazil Green Building Council. And I would like Felipe to share with all the people that is online and also with the people here in the stage the results of this exciting study.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Alejandro. It's a pleasure to be here. The Green Building Movement in Brazil is a very, very robust and we have a lot of maturity in terms of certifications, green building certification. Just to have an idea, right now we have around 87 million of square meters in 350 different cities. So we have a lot of numbers regarding some project that they can, and the way that we look for certification, I think it's important. The easier way to people understand is that it's like, imagine like a guideline with more than 500 pages where we try to put some challenge for developers to meet goals, targets above the technical standards. So we are at the end of the results, we have strong environmental KPIs, since we are also lifting the technical level of the market, because it's not only about to comply with standards, but performance above the standards. So that is a combination of technicians, environmental KPIs, and we are also, depending on the way that you communicate and the way that you explore, you also have some economic advantage, like competitive differentiation. So, and then the challenge was how we can move from millions of square meters to billion. And this is, for that, we need to penetrate the residential sector responsible with the largest volume of construction in most of our country in Latin America, but also respecting the desires of the reasons of who are developing and who is investing. Developers wanted to maybe branding, or they wanted to reduce the risk of finance. They want to compete differentiation. The investor needs reduction of risk of credits. They also better rentability. So to do that, we start to deep dive into how we can connect value propositions with credit reduction. So that we did the first study with support with IDB Invest, where we start to analyze through surveys, analyzing the results of some of the certified project, also interview with developers. Then we identify that the huge opportunity that we have to advance in a language that we can connect green building activities with credit risk reduction. And we did an experience with one of the largest banks in Brazil, discussing with not only with the credit department, also the risk of credit department, where to advance in a green finance line with some robust benefits, we prove that how a green building can reduce the risk of, for example, to make like a green building, you need to have a clean, well-organized construction site. You will need to, the construction activity, you need to to be productive and efficiency. Double check of compliance with technical standards. So invest in the design. So all those language we start to show.
That's great. That's great to hear. And Heather, what is the case in the Caribbean? What is missing to see a building industry that prioritizes resilience and also sustainability?
Okay, so in the Caribbean, of course, we experience some great significant risks. We are very vulnerable, and I mean, in fact, end of this week, the hurricane season is going to start. And so every year for 6 months in the Caribbean, we have the clear and pleasant risk of a hurricane season, and that's for all of us across the region. And in Jamaica, very specifically, we saw what the impact of a single event can be with Hurricane Melissa in October 2025. I mean, in that single event, 1.5 million Jamaicans were displaced or experienced direct impact of that hurricane. 250,000 houses damaged, about 24,000 completely destroyed. And those are things that means we have a significant risk to our housing stock, to our building stock. And so that's one of the things that we're looking at as a Green Building Council. Unfortunately, we've been working with IDB Invest, looking at a green building toolkit for Jamaica and indeed for the rest of the Caribbean, because we need to bring these standards to play in how we rebuild and how we respond to these kinds of events.
Great to hear. And well, if you would be advising banks, what would be your very first advice for them to secure that the portfolios they are building are sustainable and resilient? What is the key decision?
Well, I think the key thing is being able to have standards, and that's the benefit of a Green Building Council, and being able to know, based on certifications, what to expect in a building. You know, when you see a building, you're not going to know what standards were necessarily applied, what was achieved, and therefore, by going through the process of certification and understanding, that's an important part of being sure that when you finance, you can there's an understanding of what is being financed and a certain amount of protection for that those kinds of investments. Very, very, very useful. And in fact, some of the previous sustainability standards that existed would not apply to like Somaliland and developing states, because they'd have requirements like it had to be imported within a certain distance, and that's impossible for us because things have to be shipped in. So those kinds of things would not be as relevant. But what we're moving towards is more certifications and standards that understand our local context, the issues we have, and how we can still meet standards even in our unique location, and then definitely responding to our extreme vulnerability.
Yeah, and recognize these codes and standards are best practices.
Very much so.
And certifications are just a way to recognize the best practice. And the best practice becomes in a portfolio that is more resilient and also more competitive. And so what is your advice?
So I think that, so we have building certifications, as I mentioned, and also inside those building certifications, when I talk about standards, it's like the local technical standards responsible for rule so many different building systems. I think that one of my advice for banks, for insurance companies, is like look for something. Can be like a certification or a standard. Look for something that forces a situation where the developers need to go above the technical standard, local technical standards. Each country has its local technical standards. And we prove that we can do it with a manageable increase of construction costs, or depending on how you include intelligence of engineering and architecture in the early beginning stage of building development, like in pre-design phase, you can do it without increasing cost of construction. The idea is to invest in intelligence of architecture and engineering. If you do that, you will enable the implementation of, you will enable technically and economically the implementation of technology innovation, in the same time that you will maximize results in terms of efficiency, comfort, and sustainability. And also economic advantage, value proposition. Certification, just a consequence. Doing that, you can align better options for the resident that will buy, for developers, and for the finance institutions.
Well, thank you, Heather, and thank you, Felipe. It's clear that housing is in the middle of social, environmental, competitiveness, and resilient matters for banking industry from now on. So, very happy to partner with you both and with the rest of the World Green Building Council and the Green Building Councils of the region.
And one thing important that, for example, in Brazil, following this idea of performance above standards, you can be better no matter the market segment that you are working on. So we have projects following the same technical results, high-end, and also affordable homes.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice day.
All right.